Hello everyone. So in this video we're going to talk about strings in Python. Previously we discussed about Python in general, and we also talked about the data types, and now we'll be exploring these data types one by one. So starting with string in this video, and we can see the rest in the upcoming videos. So overview for today's video: we'll have introduction, a little bit about strings and what it is exactly, then slicing a string, modifying strings, escape characters, and string methods. So these will be the topics that we'll be discussing today. So strings in Pythons are surrounded by either single quotation marks or double quotation marks, which we have seen already, and we'll also see while we try out some sample codes. So multiline string. So if you want to declare a multiline string in Python, what you have to do is you have to use three quotes, that is three single quotes or three double quotation marks. So like you can see in the screenshot attached over here, we have a string which is being stored in the variable a, and the string is going over like 4 lines. So to store that, we are using three quotation marks. Over here it is double quotes, over here it is single quotes. So no matter which one you use, it is still the same, and that is how you store a multi-line string. So strings are arrays in Python, and we'll also see this in the code once I explain the slide. So for example, let's say if you have a variable a in which you're storing the word hello, so it will be denoted as an array. So you write HELLO and then you assign index number to each of the character, like H will be 0, E will be 1, L will be 2, and so on. And similarly, there is also negative indexing. So before that, like you see the positive indexes, I've written it on this side what each of the index will hold. So if you write a of square bracket 0, you'll get H. Similarly, a of square bracket 3 will give you L. So that is how you can access individual characters in the string. Even if you have spaces in your string, those will also be stored in a respective, place in the array, and they will not be ignored. Now when we talk about the negative indexing, so positive indexing will start from 0 and or the normal index, and the negative indexing will go on from -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, but it is written reversely. Like uh, the first index which we have is 0, but if you see it in terms of negative index, then it will be -5 in this case. Usually it will be the length of the string in minus, and over here the length of the string is 5. So it will be -5, -4, -3, -2, and -1. So one interesting thing to note also, which might be confusing later on, is that the normal index which we are giving starts from 0 and goes till the length of the string -1. So length of the string is 5, so it will go on till 4. Whereas the negative indexes, you will see the numerical value going from -1 till minus length of that string, which is -5 in this case. So to get the length of a string, there is a function named as len a. So if you use len of a, you'll directly get the length, which is 5. So now we'll see all of this in sample code. So let us see the code for the things we've discussed so far and a little bit more than that. So starting with multi-line string, if you want to define multi-line string, like I said, you use three quotation marks, and then you can just write anything like this is a multi-line string, and there it is. So if I do print x, it should work all right. So just as I declared the variable in different lines, it's printing in different lines as well. So that is why the multi-line string. Now instead of the double quotes, we can also use single quotes. So I just remove the double quotes and try with single quotes. So that also works again. So that was about multi-line string. And now we also discussed about how strings are arrays. So let's say for example a equals to hello. So we'll just write one ls capital, and if I want to print the first character, I'll just write print a of 0. Now similarly, a of 2 should give me the capital L, and a of 3 should give me the small l. So that is about the positive indexes. Now just when we make this negative, -1 will print O. Similarly, -2 should print small l, and -5 should print H, which is our first character. So negative indexing will also help you access the elements of this array, which is actually a string, but since strings are arrays in Python. Now if you want to loop through a string, so it is very easy actually. Just write a for loop. We'll discuss about loops later on, but then it is easy to understand as well. So for x in a, print x. So it prints each and every character HELLO, and in different line, because every time the print is invoked it goes to a new line. And like I said, it prints in individual line because every time this print statement is run again and again, even though it is written once, because it is in a for loop, it runs multiple times. In this case it is running 5 times because there are 5 characters in the string which we declared. And if you want to check the length of the string like we saw in the presentation, you simply write len of a, which is length of a. That will give me 5 in this case since a stores hello. And so there's one more thing which is easy to check if something exists in the string. So now let's say print capital H in a. So this will give us a boolean result, which is true in this case because H, the letter H is there in our word hello, which we are storing in the variable a. So that is why this gave us true. Now let's see what happens if I make it small h. So it will give us false because it is case sensitive. So you have to be very sure about what you're typing, and you cannot differ even in the cases, which is uppercase or lowercase. So if I write small h, it is not present in this string. So it will give me false. Now again, if I write capital H, it need not always be a character. It can be a string in itself. Let's say HE. So HE is present, and that's why it will give me true. But if I write HL, it should give me false because both H and L are present. However, they are not present together. So it will directly check this string over here as it is. So it will check if H and L exist together like mentioned over here. So that's why it is false, even though both the characters are individually present, but it will give me false. But if I just change it to H E capital L small l, that will give me true again because the first 4 characters are these. So that is how you check if it is there in a string. Now just like we have in, there is also not in, so which is basically just the opposite of it. It will return true if it is not in the string and false if it is inside the string. So H is there in the string, that's why it should return false. Similarly, A is not present in the string hello, that's why it will return true. So just like we have in, we have not in. So let's go back to our presentation. So slicing string. Now let's say if you are given a variable in which you have stored a certain string like a b c d e f g h I in this case. So like we saw in the previous slide and in the code, strings are arrays. So if you write it in this way, you can allot an index number to each one of the character. So in this case, 0 will be at, A will be at position 0 or index 0, B will be at 1, C will be at 2, and so on. So if you want to slice the string, you just have to use square brackets and a start number and the end number. So over here, like you can see, S of square brackets 2 till 7, which means the start of the slice will be from 2 and the end will be at 7. So you have to note that the 7th index is not included, whereas the second one is. So in this representation, the index number is written directly at the start, so it is more easy for you to understand. So when we say 2 till 7, 7 is over here and 2 is over here, it can easily be mapped in between. So C, D, E, F and G, which is index number 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. 7 is not included. So that is how you simply slice a string. Now just like you have given positive index over here, you can also use the negative indexing to slice it, which we will see in the code. So the next slide, we have to see modify strings. Now how do you modify strings in Python? So firstly, what is modify? Modify basically means to just change the string or alter it. So there are few ways in which you can modify the strings. The most common ways I've mentioned it over here. Like you can change the case, which means you can make it either uppercase or lowercase. So to make a string uppercase, you simply have to use the function upper. If your string is stored in the variable a, you will write a dot upper and it will change it to uppercase. Now similarly to lowercase, a dot lower, and swap case. Now no matter what your string is, whether it is in uppercase or lowercase, if you use swap case function, it will just change the case. If it is uppercase, it will go to lowercase and vice versa. So that is swap case. Now to remove white spaces. So if you want to remove white spaces from your string from the beginning and or the end, you have to use the function strip, which is the syntax is a dot strip, where a is the variable your string is stored in. Now to replace the string, so at certain times or many a times it happens that you are given a certain message or you're given a certain string and you want to replace some character of it or something you want to replace. Now how do you do that in Python? You simply use the replace function and it has two parameters. So the things you see here which are written with comma, these are known as parameters which you pass to a function so that it can create the string accordingly, like modify the string accordingly. Let's say s1 here means what you want to replace and s2 is what you are replacing it with. So let's say if I write a over here in the first parameter and b in the second parameter, that means every time the system finds the letter a, it will replace it with b. So that is how the replace function works. Now it need not always be a character. You can also use strings, like let's say ABCD. So if you write ABCD in the first parameter and just space or even blank in the second parameter, it will replace ABCD with space or even with nothing if you do not give any space at all in the second parameter. Then to split a string into a list, so if you want to split it, you have simply got to use the function split, which is written as a dot split, where a is again the variable. So in all these cases, a is the variable in which you are storing the string. So if I write a dot split and in round brackets, I have to mention based on what should the splitting be done. For example, if you are given a sentence and you need to get each and every word of that sentence separately, so you can just split it based on the space, because when you're writing a sentence you'll give space after each and every word. So like I've written over here a dot split and in double quotes I have given a space in between. So it means that wherever there is a space, it will be divided into the elements of list. So this function will return a list to you which you can access, and you can access each of the element individually. Now similarly you can also split based on comma, full stop, or even any word, character, anything. You can just mention anything in the double quotes and it will split using that as the splitting point. So concatenate. Now concatenate means to join two things in simple words. So if you are given two strings and if you want to join them, you can simply use the plus symbol or the concatenation operator, which is plus in Python. So if I want to write hello world, I'll just simply write a plus b, where a is hello and b is world. So a plus b will give me hello world, but make sure that you are also including spaces if you want to write it properly. Like in this case, there is no space anywhere. So you will get hello world without any spaces in between. So what you can also do is, if you want space, you can write a plus, in double quotes you can write space and then plus b. So I'll show that to you in the code, but first just let us complete a few more slides. So escape characters. Now in Python there are escape characters which do not get printed inside the string. So even if you write this inside the string, the backslash will not be printed. So escape characters are for many uses. Now let's say, for example, if you want to go to a new line without using multi-string, then you can use the new line escape character, which is backslash n. So all these escape characters are represented by a backslash. Then similarly backslash t will give you tab. The rest are not used much often, but then backslash n and backslash t will be used frequently, and I'll also show the usage. So string methods. There are various methods in Python, but here I'm just showing the most common ones, the ones which will be used, by you maximum number of times, if at all required. So capitalize. So capitalize will convert the first character to uppercase of any string. Count. Count will count the number of times a value occurs in a string. So there is a syntax for that, and we'll see that in the code of how to use all these functions. Then index. So if you want to find the index of a specific character or a value which is there in the string, so index function will give you the first occurrence index. It means that, let's say, if L is there two times and if you want to find the index of L, so index function will return the first occurrence index. Then is lower. Is lower method will check if all the characters in the string are in lowercase. Then we have is numeric, which will simply check if all the values in the string are numeric. So now let us go to the code. So we will start the code with slicing of the string. So I'll just write a comment, slicing string, and let's say if I have a new variable named b, and I'll store some characters, let's say a b c d. So I'll just extend it e f g h. Now if I write print b square bracket 2 to 5, so let's see what it prints. It will print c d e. C is at second index, D is at third, and E is at fourth. So like I mentioned during the presentation, the fifth index, which is F in this case, does not get printed. So that is how slicing works. You can just leave the first value as empty and it will print from the start, which is A, B, C, D, E. And if you leave the second value empty, it will print till the end from the first value. Now let's see what if you leave both the values empty. It will print the whole string, because there is no start limitation, there is no end limitation, so it will just directly print the whole string. Now similarly, if you want to print using negative indexing, let's say -5 to -2, so you have to be sure in this that the first value you're writing is always smaller than the second value. Only then you will get an output. If your first value is greater, then you'll get a blank output. So like in this case, -5 is smaller than -2, that's why we got an output. And we do not get the output in reverse order, we get the output in proper order itself, like D E, F, which is over here. So it starts from -5, H is -1, G is -2, F is -3, E is -4, and D is -5. So we got -5, which is D, then -4, which is E, and -3, which is F. Again, -2, which is G, is not included in our output. So you can also use negative indexing, and just like in positive indexing, we saw if we leave one parameter blank, so it will print till the end if I leave the second one blank, and if I leave the first one blank, it will print from the start till this position, which is G. So G is not included because this is not included, the second parameter, and it will print till G, which means includes F. So that is about slicing the string. Now to modify string, we saw the function upper, b dot upper. So if I write b dot upper, it will simply convert all the characters in B to uppercase. Even if one of them is already in uppercase, it doesn't matter. So if one of them is already in uppercase, and then if I write b dot upper, it will still give me all of the string in uppercase. Similarly, b dot lower will give me all of it in lowercase. Now to remove excess white space. Now to make you understand this function better, I'm just adding space randomly in between. And once I write b dot strip, first I have to run this to update the value in B. And once I write b dot strip, you'll just understand exactly from where the spaces have been removed. So like you see now, I've got the output. There are no spaces in the beginning, there are no spaces in the end, but whatever spaces were there in between, those are still there. So over here there are like 2 or 3 spaces, it is there. Over here there's one space, it is there. So like I mentioned in the presentation, the strip function is used to remove extra white spaces either from the beginning or from the end, or both if both are there. So that is how this function works. Now we'll see the replace function. So let's say b dot replace, and if I want to replace all the white spaces with, let's say, the number 1, so all the white spaces, over here we had 3 white spaces, that's why 1 is occurring thrice. Over here we had 2 white spaces, so 1. Now if I change this to double white space, let's see what happens. So wherever there is double white space, only that will be replaced by 1. So we saw that over here there is double white, there are 3 white spaces. Now what happens here is the first 2 white space is replaced by 1, and then there is only 1 remaining white space. That's why there is no replacement over here, because we are replacing continuously 2 white spaces. Now again over here if you see there are 2 white spaces, so it will be replaced by 1. Over here there is just a single white space, so it will leave it as it is. And at the end there are 3 white spaces, so the first 2 will be replaced by 1 and the remaining 1 will be as it is. So you can also this is very helpful to remove the white spaces or the blank spaces in a string, but it is also helpful to change certain characters. Like if I want to replace a with 1, I'll just simply write replace a and 1. So wherever a is there, it will replace it with 1. Now I can just write ab also, just like you saw, and I can just write 1 2 over here. So wherever AB is there, AB is only mentioned over here, so that will be replaced with 1 2, that is 12. So that is very simple function, but it is very useful. So let us see the split function. So I'll first modify the string. Let's say b equals to hello, this is a string, and then if I write print b dot split, and I want to split on the basis of space, so that will give me each and every word of the string individually. So if this is counted as a sentence, if you want to, extract every word from a sentence from an English language or any language in that case, what you can do is you can split on the basis of a white space. So you get each and every word as it is individually, and then you can also access those words by using the proper index. So okay, if I want to access just the first word, I'll write b dot split and square bracket 0, which is the 0th index. It gives me hello. Similarly, second, or this is the index 2, which is the third word, which is. So that is how split function works, and you can also access each and every item of that list. Now if I want to split on the basis of comma, I've just added one comma, so that should give me just two items in the list, and these are the two. So you have to see that comma is removed, so it is splitting on this basis. So you can just like draw an imaginary line over here, and then what's on the left is one element, what's on the right is another element. So on the right there is one space, if you see, which is also included over here. So that is how the split function works. Now let us see what is concatenation. If I write a equals to hello and b equals to world, if I write print a plus b, that will simply give me hello world. Okay, print this. But like I said, there is no space over here, so it will not print with any space. If I give a space here, it will print with space, as simple as that. But you can use the plus symbol as many times. If I want to add a space over here, and then at the end I want to just write something like ABCD, so that also works. Hello world ABCD, I've given a space here, that's why we have a space here. So that is what concatenation is. Now we'll see about escape characters. I'll just show you the two main ones which are used frequently, which is \n and \t. So let's say var equals to hello \n world. Now when I print var, the escape character will not be printed. Like I told you, in the strings, when you are giving an escape character, it does not get printed, and \n is for new line. That's why whatever is there after this \n, it goes on a new line while printing or while accessing the string from anywhere. If I give \n two times, it will give one more line extra. Now similarly, if I just give \t and just write something like OK, so \t is for tab, which means like when you press tab in a document or anywhere, it gives you like 3 or 4 spaces. So that's what is being done over here. That's what \t is used for, which is tab. So if you want to give space in between two words but want to write them in the same line, you use this escape character. So that was about escape characters. The rest you can also try them out on your own. And like I said, these two are more commonly used than any other escape characters. And now we'll see about the string methods, the various methods, which we have already seen a few, but let us see the others. So I have var variable, I'll just use that. Let's say var dot capitalize. So when I'm using the method, it is considering this whole as a string, and it will capitalize the first letter, which is already capital over here. So I'll just make it small. I'll run that, and then I'll run this again. So even though this is small, it is made capital over here. I'll just take a new variable so that it is easier for us to understand. So in this new variable, I'm writing HELL capital O, and I'll just use X over here. So when I write dot capitalize, it is making the first letter capital, and also it is changing the others to lowercase. So if I write, so world which was in uppercase is now lowercase, only the first letter is capital. So that was about capitalize. Then count. So let's say print x dot count. I want to count how many number of times the letter L is present. So it is present twice over here. That's why it gives me 2. Now you might say that L is also present over here, then it should be saying 3. But note that this is capital L and we have mentioned small l over here. So this function is case sensitive. If I write capital L over here, then it will give me 1 because this is the capital L which it is counting. So you have to be sure again, and you have to cross check what you are looking for, and you also have to note that the functions, mostly all of them, are case sensitive. So that is about count. And like I said, instead of one character you can also mention a string like LL and capital O. So this is one time, which is over here. If I write LL and small o, it will give me 0 because this does not exist in this string. It exists over here, but then the case is changed. This is capital case, this is small, this is capital O, this is small. So that's why this gives me 0. Now we'll see the index function or the index method. So a dot index, and if I want to check the index of the letter, let's say capital E, it will give me 1. Okay, sorry, I just ran. Okay, we are using the variable x right now. So when I write x dot index of E is present over here and its index is 1. If I make it small e, I'll get an error. It says that substring not found. So this is a substring which is not present in this string, and that's why I got an error. Now if I write L, so like I said, there are two L's over here, two small L over here, but this function returns only the index of the first occurrence, which is this. So the index is 2, that's why we got the output as 2. Then let us check the is lower function. So x dot is lower, so this will give us a boolean output, either true or false. So it gives false because this is not all in lowercase. Now even though there are some characters which are in lowercase, but to get true over here, all of the characters should be in lowercase. Like if I write a b c d all in lowercase, then it will give me true. As soon as I change even one letter to uppercase, it will give me false. Now just like we have is lower, we also have is upper. Is upper. Now this will give me false because not every letter in this is in uppercase. If I write all of the upper cases, then it will give me true. Now what happens if I introduce a number in between? So even if I introduce a number in between, it is still giving me true because whatever characters are there, they are in uppercase. Now similarly, if I include a special symbol, it will still give me true. So what it checks is, it checks only the alphabets or only the characters, alphabetical characters, and if they are all in uppercase, then you'll get true for is upper. Similarly for is lower. And then we have is numeric. So let's say a equals to 555 and print a dot is numeric. So this gives us true because even though this is a string, all it contains are numbers. Now like I said, these are methods for strings. So if I directly write a equals to 555 without putting it in double quotes, it will give me an error because the methods which we are using are for strings. So that is why it is important to define a string and use the method along with it. So if it is all numeric values in the string, it will give true, which we just saw. And as soon as I introduce anything apart from a number, it gives me false. So this is again true. If I put .98, let's see what that does. So that gives us false. So it only checks for numbers, but since this is a string, this dot will be counted as a different character and it won't be counted as a number. So that is why we've received false over here, even though you might treat this as a decimal number, but since it is a part of the string, the dot here is not counted as numeric and hence we've received false. So these are the most common methods which are used in string, and there are numerous more methods which you can explore by yourself. So we also saw about the split and the strip in modifying string. So that is it from this video, and thank you for watching.